Welcome to the Star Wars Newsnet Live. I am your host, Paul Herman. I am joined today by the bearded wonder. He's returned, Brian.
What's going on, everybody?
Doing on. And we've got also Tyler, who I talked to. We had a great conversation when Brian couldn't make it, and I'm glad you're back today. So what's up, man?
Oh, it's going well, doing well. Getting ready to deal with middle school kids again as the school year is approaching. So, pray for me.
Bro, middle school. that is special right there. That's special. If you're new to Star Wars Newsnet Live, please go ahead and interact with us into the live chat. If you're watching later on, interact with us in the comment section. Basically, this show is for us to kind of help lead the conversation, but we want you guys to be a part of it. We want to up the people's amount of interactions we have as far as just getting your take on what's going on with Ahsoka. We're going to talk about, mostly about Ahsoka today, but we're talking about a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff too, because we can't ignore that right now either. So please interact with us. Let us know what you guys think about the things we're talking about. We want to throw your comments up on the live here. Or live chat. Excuse me. So without further ado, we're going to talk about a little bit about this whole recent strike that happened recently. Obviously the writer's strike has happened. And we've got now the actor strike that happened today as well. Now, how does that affect Star Wars? We're going to get into that because our good friend Bob, not Bob Chapek, but our good friend Bob Iger has decided to throw in his 2 cents about how the actors and the writers are being unreasonable as he makes $25 million a year. Listen,
that meager salary.
Listen. It's America. We're built on big business. I get it. I get what he's saying. He's a businessman. He's not wrong to an extent as far as being on the business side. As a realist, it's not the best look. Let's be real. As he ups his $27 million, he's like, we're being unreasonable.
Plus bonuses.
Yeah, give me a break. So he says this during the whole strike. But he also, in the meantime, talks about how they're going to pull back on content for Star Wars and Marvel. Now, people in the chat, I want to know: Are you with Bob Iger? Do you think the writers and actors are being unreasonable? Are you against them? And you can be for them. That's fine. I listen. We're built on big business here in America. I get it. But are you for it? Are you on his side, against the side? But I think the bigger thing for me and the show. Are you for or against less Star Wars content as far as live action content going forward? Because we all know there's a plethora of stuff. So hit us in the comments. Bearded Wonder, I'm going to go to you first. What's your take on Bob Iger's comments today?
Look, cutting back on Star Wars stuff. Excuse my language for a second. Uh-oh. He's so full of shit his eyes are brown. They're not going to back off on Star Wars content. There's no way. They just announced 3 live action movies. They've got all these shows in the pipeline that are getting ready to come out. Yeah, we've got the strike and everything, and that sucks. That now that we've added the actors in with it too, because I was seeing some really cool, behind the scenes photos of Deadpool 3 with Wolverine and everything, and now they're just like done right now. And so, it sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, he's so full of crap. His eyes are brown. They're not going to slow down on live action Star Wars content. As soon as the strike's over, they're right back on it. That's the only reason they'd be slowing it down.
So you think he's lying?
I think he is. I think he's full of crap.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Tyler, do you agree with this? Because I don't, and people in the chat, do you agree with Brian? I don't know if I agree. I'll dive into my thoughts here in a second, but go ahead, Tyler.
So first of all, I think the quote that has made the most headlines that he said in terms of like the overall strike was when he said it was very disturbing to him what the writers and were demanding. And I could not help. And sometimes I'm not big to like call people out on like Twitter or like put something. I had to like tweet something like, I was just like, yeah, it's just really what he's saying is it's very disturbing that my $25 million a year salary could possibly be affected right now. So
how dare they?
It just
after
me so
after
much.
I already retired once.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I don't know if you saw, I think it was like a Deadline article or like a Hollywood Reporter thing that said that, an anonymous executive from one of these big companies had said the game plan is just to squeeze them until they can't afford rent anymore later in the year. So it just is the worst. I agree with Brian. I read the whole article and he talked about spending less and making a little less, like their containment, idea of containment spending. So there might be a little bit less in the streaming department for Star Wars, but once they figure out everything with the writers and actors, I can't see them remotely slowing down on future Star Wars movies. I think that's where they want to go. I personally would actually enjoy if they slowed down in streaming a little bit, because I don't know about you guys, but with the Marvel approach right now, it's become, there's just so much that I don't really care as much anymore. And I don't want to ever get to the point in Star Wars where, I'll pick and choose my stuff. I kind of like just being really excited for every project.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I definitely think that he's being real, in my opinion. But let's be real here too. I don't think that what he's saying is like exactly like is going to go from like if 10 was the highest and 1 was the lowest, they're going from like a a 9 to like a 3. I don't think it's that drastic. It's going to be probably more like an 8 to like a 5 kind of a thing. It's going to be a drop off, but it's not going to be a a huge thing. Because one thing I was talking to my buddy Scott Ryfin on Twitter, who I do a Marvel and Star Wars show on my Comic Binge channel. And he brought up a good point saying how all these studios saw streaming as the way to like basically, get out theaters, do their own thing and be independent and like, and do and be able
hurting the franchises.
Well, right. But so what's ended up happening though is backfiring on them, because now they're having to pay for all this stuff, but they're not getting as much return as they want or as they need to justify making these expensive shows. But be real, Netflix has gotten by making these inexpensive shows for so long that, people, they are the king still, because people know them and associate them with streaming. Disney, they had to keep upping the ante, and it backfired on them. They saw, great, returns at first, but now that people they churn, if you will, right? They go, oh, Mandalorian's over, disconnect, that's the problem. And so now there's that story about that movie that came out in May with a girl from Ghostbusters Afterlife, who I love Phoebe. Forgot her name in real life though, sorry. But she's in a science fiction movie. They already took off the channel. They took off Willow. I mean, which again, I'm not a big Willow fan of that series, but my point is that they can't afford to pay all these residuals. And so that's the other thing, is that now you're going to see, instead of all this content just laying there like on Netflix, and even Netflix is starting to start pulling things eventually, these residuals, once they get these all figured out, they're not going to, they're going to take them off. So it's going to be very interesting. In my opinion, I kind of feel that maybe I don't want to be hyperbolic about this, but I think almost Hollywood could be at a turning point with streaming, because it feels like, and I said this to my buddy Scott, in a comment reply, and I said, it almost feels like that Disney thought, let's cut out the middleman, let's just take everything we can, right? But now after they cut out the middleman, they're like, crap, maybe we wanted the middleman, because they don't have to worry about, they could just, it was nice to kind of let Netflix have Daredevil and pay them a bunch of money and not have to worry about all the other residuals and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff adds up over time. And I just don't know how valuable it'll be to not just Disney, but all these other companies. I don't know how deep it's going to go, but it definitely feels like streaming was going to be like this be all end all, but now it's kind of like, it's not as cool as they thought it was going to be. And it may change Hollywood forever against what they want, which might be a good thing, because it's kind of a mess right now. It's a broken system for sure. Anyone have any comments about that? And people in the chat, holler at us.
Yeah, the streaming thing, if you back in the, I remember, let's say, you go back to the prequel trilogy days, right? When we had episodes 1, 2, and 3 coming out. And it's more recent than that, but that's a great example. I mean,
right.
Star Wars was, like Kathy Kennedy said not too long ago, it was an event. Star Wars was an event. It was something you waited 3 years for every, time there's a trilogy going. And now we're at a point where we got 5 Star Wars movies in 5 years. And then we've got so many live action shows. And so with Disney, it's like they're putting so much content onto Disney, and they're spending so much on that content. I mean, look at the budget for Andor. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the number of subscribers, once you get to a certain point, you're not going to get. There's only so many people who can subscribe. You're not going to get anything extra out of it. You know what I mean? And so you're not getting the returns on everything. You whether you put Andor on there or not, you were still going to get X amount of money. You know,
Good point. Yeah.
And so they're not getting their returns back. Now, if they slow that down and start focusing more on what they need to do with the big screen stuff, which is what I think all of us want more than anything, is some more big screen stuff.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, it's the trunk of the tree, right? Everything else kind of branches off the trunk. And this is
good point.
The movies are the trunk. That's what we need. We need more trunk before we start adding these giant branches to the franchise.
More junk in that trunk.
Right. So and so I think they need to back off on, and don't get me wrong, I love the live action stuff they're doing, but definitely back off on some of it. Eventize it again, like Kennedy said. And like, I mean, think about it, like we've got what's going right now. Secret Invasion Invasion's going right now. As soon as it's over, Ahsoka's kicking off. We're already coming into the last half of the year now. We're getting ready for it. We're in the last half of the year now. And we've still got Skeleton Crew coming, Andor season 2 eventually is going to be coming, and it's like, it's not an event anymore. It doesn't, now Star Wars is just, and Marvel too, and other franchises with Disney, it's just an everyday thing now, because it's just every day I get on Disney Plus when I get home from work. What's new? And just go through. You don't make it an event. You don't make it, like a date.
It's not exciting.
Go out. Yeah, it's not exciting anymore. It's just a run of the mill thing. So.
And they realize they've done that, right? And so, and Tyler, before I throw it to you, I just want to comment that you make a great point, is that you don't have time to absorb and talk about Secret Invasion, and regardless if you like it or not. I love it a lot, but you make a great point that I'm not gonna like want to talk about it and like think about it, or like maybe even revisit it for gasp, to rewatch it, because I got Ahsoka right away, and when you you have
there's
kids,
no breathing room.
I just don't have room. I mean, I'm just now watched the second. I've been watching some episodes of Mandalorian season 3 with my daughter. And that's just now, I'm just now doing that. So there needs to be room to like absorb this content, right? Like I absorbed Andor, but then I was like absorbing Mandalorian season 3, like that, So I mean, it was because I didn't have time. So there's something to that, completely what you're saying. Tyler, do you want to add anything with that?
Well, I felt like The Mandalorian kind of was that event for a while, because season 1 came out and it was the flagship show for Disney Plus, and then there was no other Star Wars live action, and then season 2 rolls around and it felt like every Wednesday. I don't know if you guys ever watched like Game of Thrones or anything, but whenever the new episode of Thrones, you knew every person was watching. And when season 2 of Mando came around, I knew every one of my Star Wars friends or people were like, not necessarily at that same time, but that day, everyone was going to watch the new Mando episode. But this year, it felt a lot more like, well, I'll get to it that week, because at some point, because, we just got done with Andor, people know Ahsoka's coming. It didn't feel like it had the same gravity and weight to it that it had the first 2 seasons. So I wouldn't mind them scaling back a little bit. I just don't want it to be because some of these shows don't do so well because of the fact that the writers aren't getting what they need. And that's kind of my concern, is what's going to happen to Ahsoka as we come up on, almost just over a month before the show premieres, and there are no actors to go do a press tour for it. They're not going to be able to talk about it. Skeleton Crew is coming up, months after that. We don't know when this is going to be resolved, if they're going to have press for that. And I hope it doesn't hurt the general audience that isn't that aware that Ahsoka's even happening, because no one's going to be around to talk about it.
Well, you bring again, another great point, guys. I think this is a great conversation, by the way. Again, people in the chat, hit us up what you guys are thinking about this whole strike, how it's affecting Star Wars, because we're going to talk about one more thing before we get to Ahsoka. But again, you brought up a great point about Skeleton Crew comes out soon, right? Well, if this strike goes on longer, you can bet your booty that they're going to push Skeleton Crew out, not because it's not done or whatever, but because they needed to have fresh content on their streaming site. And they already started kind of doing that a little bit. Like, things were even more crowded before, and they finally started scaling back. But like you said, we need to eventize. We need to, like Game of Thrones, like spread things out. I think like putting Bad Batch season 2 at the same time as Mandalorian was just that was a dumb idea. I mean, listen, we all know you're not cannibalizing Star Wars fans by putting bad. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, as Star Wars fans, if you want to generate more interest in your animated shows, which are quality, I mean, let's just be real. I mean, even I praise the praises of Young Adventures all the time. But if you want to, give Star Wars fans and get some buzz online about stuff, don't give us two things at the same time, for God's sakes. So I mean, to be honest, I almost think that now, especially if the strike goes on longer, you can bet your booty that Skeleton Crew is gonna be pushed back, just not because it's done, but because they need to have something special for it. So, any last comments before we move on from this conversation, Bearded Wonder or Mr. Tyler?
No. Andrew put this comment up. Could Ahsoka be pushed back, or is it too close to release for that to happen? I think it's too close.
Too close. Yeah.
They've already said what it's in the can. It's
done.
It's already uploaded to Disney Plus. It's just they're just waiting to hit the So
Tyler,
Showtime
live button.
Live button. Any last comments, Tyler?
No, I just if Star Wars scales back, I'm perfectly okay with that, because I mean, you remember in 2019, whatever your thoughts were of The Last Jedi, but going into The Rise of Skywalker, I felt like still everyone was so excited for that event to lead up to that episode 9. And I mean, Indy 5 didn't do that well, but it felt like that for me as a big Indy fan to lead up to that event. And I took a picture on they had like a red carpet with a bunch of Indy stuff and people walking around. And then I just love the more time that's apart, the more big of an event's going to be. And I love that.
It's interesting you brought up Indy 5. Great. You're a pro at this, Tyler. Brian, we got a natural over here.
I had that written down. I was just waiting for you to say last one.
He's like, I had it written down.
Now's my chance to shine.
My moments.
You got it. You got it. So, okay, again, I haven't seen Indy 5. I need to see it. But really quick before we go to Ahsoka, and going from these comments that Bob said, which I don't know. You make a good point, Brian. Are they really going to cut back? There's probably some truth to it, but how much, we'll see. But regardless, looking at Indy 5, do you think, because it didn't perform as well as it needed to, let's be real. It wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't exactly great.
It wasn't The Flash.
I love The Flash too, by the way.
So did I. I loved that movie.
It bums me out. It was a bomb because it may be a bomb financially, but it's not a bad movie at all. For people who are wondering, it's a good movie, in my opinion.
CG sucks, but man, it's good. It's a good
CG
movie.
doesn't. That's all.
Those babies.
Okay, listen. I don't want. That's
not
different
even
podcast. Different podcast. But do you think this does now affect? Because this kind of goes in line with Kathleen Kennedy's the last couple of things that's been going on theatrically. These kind of misfires, right? I love Rise of Skywalker, but it wasn't a critically acclaimed movie by any means. Indy 5 was kind of just had good audience scores, but critically got kind of panned a little bit and didn't do well at the box office. And let's be real, she's had this again, Mangold, she brought him out before and going, oh, he's gonna do all these great things. And does this now affect this movie that she wants him to do, that the success of Indy 5? Do you think that affects his movie at all? Bearded Wonder? No. Okay.
No, they've already committed.
Colin Trevorrow.
I wish.
And no, you don't wish. No, you don't. I promise you.
I
promise you. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Loved it, dude. Anyway, so no, there's no way that they're gonna pull this, because I mean, Indy 5 was, in my opinion, is pretty decent. I mean, all I wanted it to do was be better than Crystal Skull. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, but it was better than I thought it was going to be. So,
but I listen. But I think you're not. It did okay. I think, again, audience wise, from a rating standpoint,
that's what matters, though.
No, it doesn't. You're wrong. That's where you're wrong.
No,
you're wrong, because it does. It matters the most when it does financially.
Well, that's true too, but
that's what matters more.
We're at a point too with cinema that I think everybody's just sick and tired of sequels and sequels and sequels. We're up to what, 10 Fast and Furious movies? They've gone to space. Like,
what are the two successful movies this summer before Mission Impossible?
Do what?
What are the two most successful movies this summer besides Mission Impossible 800 that comes out this week?
Whichever one should
Guardians
go see.
Volume 3.
Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Which I heard was really good.
It's very good. Both are
seen Guardians 3 yet.
all sequels. So just throwing it out there. I think
real quick, just as a tagline, real quick, to go back to something you said earlier about streaming.
Yeah.
Guardians 3, I'm waiting for it to come out on Disney Plus. I'm not going to see it in cinema,
No.
so they're not going to make any extra money off me watching it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there.
But see, and that's
I saw
the problem
it twice,
now.
so I saw it for you, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I want to see it twice. I would if I didn't have a toddler at home and then I had more time, because I loved it. I thought it was great. And this is coming from someone who didn't like Volume 2 that much.
But you said Guardians 3, and what was the other one?
Across the Spider-Verse, which is phenomenal.
Across the Spider-Verse. Okay,
right.
That's a great movie. But
the first one was wildly successful.
Oh, the second one's incredible.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think maybe you're, again, I want to put words in your mouth, but just bear with me. I think maybe you're saying nostalgia / sequel, like franchise fatigue.
Franchising. I think we're getting tired of franchising.
Which again,
yeah,
the other films are more franchise, but I see what you're saying. Like, I think that was a franchise that they were trying to, almost like they were beating a dead horse. Like, everyone loves Indy, right? It's like, it's kind of like, it's kind of a, like, Tyler, it's interesting. You're about mid-20s, I'd say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I feel like your generation's like the last gasp of indie, but it's still, I would even say your generation is not that big of an indie as much as our generations are.
Most of my friends couldn't care less about Indiana Jones.
Exactly.
It's so heartbreaking.
So here's the thing. Indiana Jones's audience also, like, think about the audience that, I hate to say this, but like, who loved Indiana Jones as those movies came out. They're probably either all really old or passed away at this point. Think about it. Because like all those people, like all my grandparents, like they liked Indiana Jones
40 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that's why it was not successful, but just just consider it. So all that to be said, I don't know. I'll be honest. I think it means it's a bigger deal than maybe what you're letting on, in my opinion, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
But Tyler, what's your take? Do you think this affects Mangold going forward at all?
I don't think it affects Mangold going forward. I actually tend to agree with Brian on. They had said before The Last Jedi, we are going to move forward with Rian Johnson on this 3-film trilogy of sorts. And I just have this feeling that if there was not the divide of fans on that movie, that we would have more information on that. That's just me speculating. But the fact that there was such a visceral reaction that they were like, we just need to separate. With Mangold, with Indy 5, I haven't really heard anyone that I've talked to go see the movie and find something overtly offensive about it. It's just more of like, it was a fun movie. It was solid. Just people didn't really turn out and go see it. And I think that's more due to the fact of they're really, after the poor reviews from the film festival several months ago, it felt like they just stopped talking about it until about 3 weeks before the movie, and then flooded everything. And then there weren't really, Harrison Ford and other, like, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, like other actors, Mads Mikkelsen, like, I didn't see them on the late shows, like, really that much, press tour. And then people my age, my generation, it sucks, but like most people my age really don't care about, like, have a deep care about Harrison Ford or, this, like, the iconic, nature of Indiana Jones. Like, I have a really strong affinity for Indiana Jones because my dad and I watched Indiana Jones when I was like 10 years old, because it was like his favorite movie that he saw when he was a kid. And he's like, I'm going to watch this with my son. And, I did a full rewatch right before I go see it. And I'm there, as soon as possible. But most people my age are like, isn't that like a old movie from the 80s that, they're just rehashing? Like, my grandmother went to go see it and loved it, but she didn't even know that it was coming out till a couple weeks ago.
And let's be real, how they spend their marketing dollars really matters, because they're obviously going to focus on people, around our age more than the older audience, like you're saying, right? Like, your grandma didn't know because they probably weren't advertising to that market, because they thought old people don't go to the movies. They really don't anymore because of COVID and all that stuff,
because of streaming.
It's and that too. I do think streaming, and again, we could go for a long time about this, but I just want to end. I do think it does, like I said, I think it does affect a little bit. We'll see. I don't think it, because he wrote the movie. That's the other thing too. And it didn't get like destroyed. It did okay audience wise, but it didn't blow people's doors off either.
It wasn't no Raiders again, but I mean it was. Now look, no spoilers, but that, like, we see in the trailer the de-aged Harrison Ford. That's like the first 25 minutes of the movie. And it's like, it's a huge chunk of
that's
the first
That's a bold move. I'll give him credit on that. Bold.
Good. Like, yeah, the CG was a little clunky once in a while, and they shine a flashlight in his face, and you could be like, ugh, but other than that, like, if they did a whole movie of that, yes, please. Like, do it. That would have been so great. I wanted more. And when that scene was over and they kind of cut to the future, I was like, oh man, that was so great.
I was the opposite, actually. Really? Like, once the flashback scene was over and we saw 80-year-old Harrison Ford, and that's kind of when I was into it. I just that's kind of when I kind of started all right, here we go. Like, I'm ready to get going.
Right.
I think, and one more thing on Mangold, I think the fact that it's not going to affect his movie at all, because I don't even think that movie is even on fans' minds right now, because everyone is kind of looking at that as the future. Everyone's kind of thinking about the Mandoverse film with Filoni and the new Rey movie that comes out. I think those are on people's minds because everyone knows those two are going to happen.
Yeah.
Versus when Last Jedi came out and there was the whole future of Star Wars movies was going to be Rian Johnson's trilogy. It seemed like for a while that everyone was just that was just such a hot button. I think even if Indy wasn't, this critically acclaimed universal success, I just don't think it's on people's minds right now. They're just more focused on the next two movies. This one seems like it's probably not going to come out for 6, 7, 8 years anyway.
Tyler, you nailed it, man. That's pretty dang good, man. That's a good call. You know what? This is good. All right, y'all, time to move on. Time to move on to the Grand Poobah here. And we are going to get to Ahsoka. That's what we're all here for. Now, full disclosure to everybody, I have not watched the trailer. Not because I don't want to, or this is not a political statement.
Hasn't seen the new Mission Impossible. Hasn't seen the Ahsoka trailer. Hasn't seen any.
Dude, I'm busy, bro.
Good stuff,
bro. I am busy. For one thing, I don't want to see Mission Impossible 800, so I'm good. I do want to see Indy 5. It's just life is just busy. Ahsoka, the reason why is I'm saving every ounce I can for the TV show, and so how we're gonna do it? I told everyone I didn't watch the trailer, but screenshots are fine. That's why I wanted to have more than one person today, which Tyler, you've been killing it today. So, and this has been fun, the three of us. So, and I'm being serious. This has been awesome. So I'm going to let you guys kind of go crazy on it. I'll throw some, I'm going to lead the conversation,
crazy.
But I don't want you guys to spoil me on everything. So just try to be as, without going crazy. You get a little bits here or there. It's fine. But
man, when like Han Solo and Leia popped up in that trailer,
shut up. That's all I got to say. Man. Shut up. Oh my God. All right. So let's get this started. Ahsoka, Bearded Wonder. I mean, before we get into your a little bit of a breakdown, I know how are you feeling about Ahsoka right now? We waited about a month into it.
My excitement was here. It is now here. It's so I'm so stupid. This show comes out 3 weeks after my birthday, so my birthday's coming late this year. I can't wait for I was already stoked for this, and then the first trailer really got me stoked, and this one, man, bring it on. I want it yesterday.
Yeah,
just bring it on.
This comes out on my wife's birthday, which is very interesting for me. So which I already asked her. I'm like, is this gonna be?
That's
I asked her. I'm like, is this gonna be a problem for? Because it's on a Wednesday, so it's which by the way, again, this is a really quick thing. Wednesdays suck. I hate Wednesdays. Does anyone like Wednesdays? I don't think it does anything. I feel like people don't care about Ahsoka or not Ahsoka. Excuse me. These Wednesday releases. By the time they think if we release it on Friday, people will talk about it over the weekend. No. Actually, it's that opposite. People have already watched it. They'll talk about it one day and then it dies. In my opinion, maybe the numbers show wrong. I don't know. Whatever. Tyler, what was going into it before the trailer? What's out afterwards?
It's just funny. Your wife's birthday is when it comes out. So this was 3 weeks ago, and I told my girlfriend, who I love dearly, I was like, it's only 70 days away, and she's like, wait, you have a countdown going till my birthday, which is 2 days before Ahsoka comes
Yeah,
out, and I said,
like, here, yes, that's exactly.
and
what I'm
I
saying.
just totally, like, she goes, "You're talking about something Star Wars, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah,
Oh, dude, she
Ahsoka comes
called you
out in
out, homie.
My
70
orange
days."
girlfriend,
So,
yeah.
and she goes, "Here I am thinking you started to count down to my birthday." I was like, I would. Sorry, I
Damn,
didn't think of
homie.
that sooner. But
Why didn't you?
it was
Why
bad.
didn't you pivot? You should have
It was-
pivoted
My
real
I-
quick.
orange side chick.
I choked so hard. It was
Man,
awful.
Tyler, you're showing your age, man. You gotta
It was
learn,
awful.
young buck. All right,
You
anyway.
got to lean into those conversations. man.
Yeah. All right. Continue. All right. So tell us how you're counting down, but that's before the
Right.
trailer, right?
So yeah, I mean, I count down, like I have a countdown with my friends for when the next High Republic book comes out. So I mean,
Wow.
we nerd out pretty hard.
Damn, Holmes, you
with
do.
my friends. So anyway, but I've been watching Rebels again, doing my Rebels rewatch. So I only have like 8 episodes left until I finish. So I couldn't be more excited. The trailer just, I think I've watched it like twice a day since it came out 2 or 3 times. Just everyone, if I get bored, I just throw it on. Of course, dear. I'm sorry, MB Wills. I'll try next time. I bought her dinner afterwards, and that seemed to. We haven't had any. Hasn't got brought up since. But
homie,
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's an obligation.
Hasn't
Holmes.
forgotten about it, man.
Yeah, you don't win that
It's
one.
fine.
Sorry.
Still there.
Oh, this is great. Okay, so let me use that comment about Rebels here, because that's the one thing that we've heard a lot about, and obviously, people, it's weird. I've seen people, at least from my circles, and but people have pushed back on this being a sequel to Rebels a little bit, which is again, I love the people who say that, who aren't into that.
Dave Filoni confirmed it is the other day.
Well, he said it a long time ago. Right?
Was it? Man,
he said it a while ago, but he may have said it again. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't, but that being said, yeah, like we know this is a sequel to Rebels in some way, and there's our boy Chopper. He looks
that
good,
looks
by
like
the
it's
way.
straight out of Rebels. Like, I mean,
really
that doesn't even look live action.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait for Chopper to viciously just murder someone or some droid and maul them, and then the general audience who has no idea who Chopper is just like drop their jaws, like, what just happened?
Right.
Chopper can be a bastard, dude. Like, he's the droid that if you're hanging off a cliff and he rolls up and looks down at you, you don't know if he's gonna help you up or knock you off.
Yeah, right. Right.
No idea.
Well, so here's my question. Do you get, besides like obviously the characters being in it, but and this kind of cuts into some story stuff, does it feel from the trailer, in your guys' opinion, that this is a true Rebel sequel, or is it really just like Rebels characters in the story? You know what I'm saying? Like Bearded Wonder, go ahead.
It feels like Rebels. I mean, there's plenty of Lothal in it. That long highway out of the capital city on Lothal that you see all the time. It's there. I mean, that's an E-wing, by the way, in the background. For those of you who don't know, that's a freaking E-wing they're bringing back.
That's amazing.
But this is literally Rebels season 2. It's literally, or Rebels season 5. I mean, there's shots in this that are live action versions of the animated like epilogue ending of season 5. It's the live action version of it, and it's perfect. I'm starting to buy more and more into Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera. It's starting to grow on me a little bit. I'm starting to like it.
She looks good there.
She does. And I wasn't sure
really good.
how I was going to feel about it. She had the one line in the last trailer that was just like, we have to prepare for the worst. And it didn't really sound like Hera.
Well, it's not going to sound like her because it's not the same voice actor.
She didn't have the same, well, obviously, but she didn't have the same, kind of
cadence.
Didn't feel like, but now you've heard her talk a little bit more and interact with, Sabine and with Ahsoka. This straight looks like freaking Rebel season 5. Even Ezra's voice is perfect. It is perfect. When he's talking in that hologram, it sounds like Ezra Bridger. It's why I was losing my mind. Thrawn, that's my boy. There's a special place.
He looked good.
He looked
really good.
Yeah, he looks good.
All right.
Anyway.
All right. So so before we get into Thrawn, we'll get into Thrawn here in a second here, Tyler. But what let's say unless you don't have any comments about Rebels being a sequel to Rebels, anything to comment on that?
I agree with everything Brian said, and then I would just add in the feel of the show, even from the trailer, something that was really prevalent in Rebels was kind of this mystical aspect of the Force and how it connects to everything. And it got really weird at times. And just from the trailer, it feels like that same kind of mystical, Forcey vibe is going to be present in the show, which I think is something very different from anything we've really seen in live action in Star Wars. So I really hope that Filoni just kind of goes for it, and we see some of the weird, trippy stuff from the shows make its way into the show. And I think we're going to get some of that. It feels like Rebels when you're watching it. Just that whole the aura of it just kind of oozes out, and I cannot. I'm so excited.
The spirit of it is there.
Yeah,
yes,
I think
absolutely.
Now, again, I haven't watched the trailer. I watched the first one, obviously. I'm not an animal. You know, I'm not a monster. I'm gonna watch at least one trailer. That's how I do it now. But like, it's like, you know, when I watch movies for things I want to see, I just need one tease. I'm good. You already got my money. I'm already gonna be watching this probably 5 million times. But to talk about something that I think that I got from the first trailer too, that you said, and it's not just the characters, and you kind of got what I was picking up on, or you picked up what I was throwing at you, was that I wanted to feel that weird mystical thing that Filoni loves, and you touched on that. And people in the audience, I'm curious, you know, if you're watching live, comment, please, appreciate it. If you're not watching live, go hit us in the comments. But I'm curious what you all think about. Do you think that, and this is for the audience, you already answered this, but do you think that the mystical parts are not a negative, but are they something that you want to see more of, or are you less of, or kind of indifferent of? Because I felt like for the most part, Star Wars fans, when I was doing, when Rebels was coming out, it was mostly a respected thing, but I do feel that people push back a little bit on the weirdness, and Filoni loves that weirdness. And I love that about Star Wars. And I love that about Filoni, that he gets George's weirdness and almost like turns it to 11, if that makes any sense. But does that make sense? Because it feels like George always had a little weird, but he kind of like this he's more old school, so it came off weirder because he's coming from an older generation mindset. Whereas I think it's not even a generational gap or mindset for Filoni. Filoni just loves crazy bonker stuff. So, like, you know, the Loft Wolves and things like that.
And it always works. It always seems to work in his favor. Like
in Clone Wars too. And that's the one thing I think about the
stuff.
Oh God, I love Mortis. Love it. I think that's the thing I want to talk about here, and what you were saying, Tyler, too, is that it feels like, you know, the weird Force stuff is all there. And that to me is what I'm really looking forward the most to, is seeing those weird aspects of the Force being brought out into the show. And it sounds like from this trailer, it's almost like that's amplified more so in this trailer. Would you guys agree to that? Is that accurate?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that there is, and I don't like this, I don't agree with this, but I think there is some truth to it, that for the average Star Wars fan, that doesn't necessarily watch all of the animated stuff, and people might show them these little weird Force stuff that happens.
Right.
There's just more validity to that if we actually see it in something live action, because of the more niche audience the animation has. If it's done in live action, something super trippy like that, for whatever reason, with everyone else, I feel like, oh, okay, it is real now because it happened like with real people. And I think that's might be part of it. And something that I think the trippy stuff that Filoni always does really well is he always connects it back to whatever character he's focusing on. It always connects to what is their connection to the Force, and how does that impact the decisions that they make. And we saw that so much with Ezra and Kanan in Rebels. And I'm really excited to see kind of the somewhat conclusion of how Ahsoka, you know, hopefully deals with some of that in this, because, and I want to hear Brian's opinion about this, because Anakin was name dropped, spoiler, twice in the trailer.
Yeah.
Wow.
With Ahsoka. And I think there's going to be a lot of that with her wrestling with where her place is in the Force now and what that means for her. And I think that we're going to see that played out in the show with some possible, like, really trippy stuff too.
Yeah.
Well, and Brian, before you answer, I want to say that if that's what the trailer's giving off, again, I haven't watched the trailer because I want to save everything I can for it. I don't mind hearing it from hearsay because I'll forget about it more if we do it like this, opposed if I watch it, if that makes any sense. But I'm gonna say right now, if the themes that Filoni's doing with Ahsoka and her journey in the show is going to be based on her place in the universe as a Force user or a Jedi or whatever, is infinitely more interesting than what we got at the end of Rebels when she's Ahsoka the White or the Gray or whatever she is, and she's got her hood, and it almost seems like she's already had that journey, like she's accepted her place in the universe at that point. Whereas now, if he's going kind of retroactively saying, actually, I'm going to rework a little bit of that, which again, I'm totally in favor of like making it a little bit different. I think it's predominantly more interesting and fascinating, and I can't wait to see Rosario Dawson take this character in that direction. So, Brian, is what Tyler was talking about and what I was talking about. Go ahead.
This feels like to me, not only does it feel like season 5 of Rebels, but it also feels like, and I hate to say this because I hope it's not. I hope if this show is good, I hope that it warrants another season. But it almost feels like the culmination of Ahsoka's story.
Yeah, for sure.
And she's, like kind of like the climax of her story is interwoven with the Rebels characters and with the story of trying to find Ezra and with Thrawn and everything. Not saying that this is the last, we're going to see of Ahsoka, but this is kind of, it's all coming to a fever pitch basically in her story. I feel like, and I feel like everything, not just from Rebels, but from Clone Wars and from Tales of the Jedi and everything is the Ahsoka novel, everything that we've had with her in it, even some of the Forces of Destiny stuff. Some of those lessons carried over into, other mediums as well. I feel like it's all going to come to a head in this show. I mean, he mentioned, Tyler mentioned Anakin being name dropped twice. I mean, she straight talks about how, Anakin never finished my training. I walked away from him, and so you're bringing that core,
that's awesome.
that big thing, that pivot, that pivoting point for her and her path basically back into it. And you realize how big of a deal it was for her, and then, what's the main bad guy's name? Ray Stevenson's name.
Oh, I don't know.
Balin.
Yeah. When he's looking at her and he's like, Anakin spoke very highly of you. And it's like, what? Like, and we know Hayden Christensen's going to be in the show. We know he's been cast for it. So it's going to come full circle, man. We're going to get to see Snips and Sky Guy face to face live action for the first time and get to see that relationship come full circle, especially after everything we saw in season 2 of Rebels at the end with her fighting Vader. And now we're going to get to see her come face to face with Anakin, and is this before or after we see her with Luke in Book of Boba Fett? Is this after?
I think so.
Okay.
Or how about this? I think maybe it's going to be like almost like a flashback into maybe like get to parallel with that time. I would assume so anyway. Tyler, would you agree with that?
I read where, I don't remember who said it, but one of the people on the show said it takes place about the same time as Mandalorian, like season 3 time, like timeline. So probably overlapping some, could be after. I think everything in that timeline is kind of intersects a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Thanks, Jon Favreau, for muddying all that up. But
well, no, hold on. No. To be fair, I think the one thing I think they've done a good job of is that they haven't dedicated themselves to a certain timeline exactly, and that's almost a positive in my opinion, because that way you have room.
Yeah,
exactly. So you don't have to be like, no, Ahsoka has to start exactly at this time. So you know what I mean.
But we're gonna see Ahsoka not only be face to face with Luke Skywalker, which is something I think all of us wanted to see. Right? We all wanted to see the live action meeting, or just them meeting in general. And now we're gonna get to see her and Anakin, which I think is going to be more of like a spiritual like fulfillment than her seeing Luke.
Yeah.
And so this show's going to be freaking sick.
So, and before we get to MB Wilson's question,
I
have a question for both of you about kind of how Brian said we're going to see, Anakin and Ahsoka interact. Sure. Now we don't know what she's been up to since she got off Malachor. Essentially, we just see her at the very end. I hope it's different than the Anakin or the Ahsoka Luke conversation we got in Boba Fett, where it's like, oh, they've spoken, quite a bit. They've been interacting. I wonder if when we see Anakin and Ahsoka, is it going to be they've clearly communed to some degree since, the time when since Vader died in these years, or
right.
is it going to be maybe she's wanted to and hasn't been able to, and we get to see that first time that
kind of like Obi-Wan
they
and
talk to each
Qui-Gon,
other.
kind of like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon spirit.
Mm-hmm. So I hope we get to see that first raw kind
That's
of conversation, but I don't know.
And really quick before you answer this question too, I'll also respond. I do think it'd be cool because if this is not completely linear with, you know what I'm saying? I think, which I don't think we're expecting that, right? I think it's going to be jumping around timeline a little bit. It would be cool if they went back and showed us, Luke and Ahsoka's first interaction in some ways, in my opinion, or just like you said, Tyler, give us those interactions for the first time. I wouldn't be heartbroken if they don't do it, but I think it'd be a cool idea and a good idea to do that. But to go off here, Mr. Wilson, what he's talking about here, that's a good question. I'm gonna say no, but but you know what? I'm open to being wrong. Meaning, I don't mind. I'm not like, no, she's not. How dare you? Just, I'm not like that. If there's a good story with her being force sensitive, then I'm all about it. But Bearded Wonder, what's your take on this thing?
Nah, she ain't force sensitive. They're referring to the sword fighting. I mean, even in Rebels, when Sabine had the Darksaber, Kanan was, teaching her some dueling techniques against.
Balled
Ezra.
Out though, bro.
And
balled out.
Do what?
She balled out though.
Oh yeah. But I think that's what it's referring to. I just don't want everybody and their mother to end up being force sensitive in Star Wars. You know what I mean? And
I agree.
When everybody's force sensitive, it takes away from the specialness of it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so, am I going to be against it? I'm not against it, but it's not something that I'm, yearning to see. It's not something that I really am looking forward to seeing. You know what I mean? I think she's going to be a great Sabine. Don't get me wrong. I think she completely captures Sabine.
I've already got a crush on her, so I'm good. So I mean, I'll be real.
Cool.
So,
I don't think you could handle her, man.
I couldn't. I'd probably die. So, Tyler, man, what's your take on Mr. Wilson's comment? She force sensitive?
If they were able to come up with some great reason and story for it, then I'm sure I'd come around. But
yeah, same here.
But at the same time, we have so much of Sabine's character already through 4 seasons of Rebels, and there wasn't ever a moment where they even hinted that she was force sensitive. I kind of agree with Brian. It's just going to be more of she wanted to continue to train with Ahsoka, as a warrior, as a Mandalorian wielding, Ezra's saber that,
he was left with Ezra's saber.
That he left for her, that he wants, clearly, he's counting on her to some degree. And I think it's more of that, because Ahsoka herself isn't necessarily, calling herself a Jedi, but she still has a lot to teach and a lot of wisdom to pass on. And I think Sabine knows that. And, they have a relationship similar to how, like Brian said, like Kanan was teaching, Sabine so much when she had the Darksaber for those few episodes. So if they do that, I'm sure Filoni is going to write it in a pleasing way. I'd be really surprised,
Think about the end of Rebels too, because think about Dave Filoni, how he likes to plant seeds and then have them grow later on, right? And you never even know the seed's planted until boom, there's a flower. Think about the end of Rebels for a second. Ezra specifically left that lightsaber with Sabine.
Yeah,
and he had this huge plan about how to take care of Thrawn with the Purrgil, and everything. He had this huge master plan. He almost Darth Sidious'd this thing. And then, he left the hologram message saying, Sabine, I am counting on you to come find me. You know what I mean? I'm counting on you. And so he left it for her for a reason. And I think he knew she was going to need it to come find him wherever they were going to end up being. And maybe he already had in his head where they were going to end up. And take them. And Ezra's known the whole time where they were going to go. They didn't just launch out into, nowhere.
Right.
And I think Ezra took Thrawn and the Purrgil and everything to a specific place, and he knew she was going to need it there. And so I think Ezra's plan's not done yet. I think there's going to be aspects of it in this show that end up, building off of what was done at the end of Rebels.
Plans within plans.
Yes. And we don't talk enough about the Sabine Ezra relationship.
Yeah.
I'm rewatching Rebels right now. They spend so much time, just the two of them together in the last season, and then even a few episodes in season 3 where the time they spend on Mandalore, and it's a lot of just them two interacting and him learning about her family history, her past. They kind of grow up in a sense together in some of these moments, and they kind of sequence off into these little partner missions. And Ezra and Sabine are so closely intertwined at the end that I really can't wait to see the direction that they have. And I think her getting the lightsaber was just Ezra saying, I'm counting on you because I trust you more than anyone else that I even know to come find me, come save me, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. The Ezra, this is I'm being real, y'all. Rebels season 4 is an all-timer. Is one of my favorite Star Wars things ever. I love it.
Built to an awesome climax. Yeah.
There's a couple clunkers in there. Like it's not perfect, but as a whole, I love it. All right, before we get out of here, we have the one bad guy. Tyler didn't mention him. He looks amazing. We haven't talked much about him. But before we let out of here, we got to talk about the Grand Admiral Thrawn. Bearded Wonder, go ahead, man.
Man, I tell you what. I'm serious because I put the H before the W when I say what. I'll tell you what. This guy, you need to take that back. I heard the snore. You know what? I think he's going to do really, really well. I'm kind of confused though. Remember, and I don't want this to be taken as anybody thinking that I'm talking crap on anybody. That's not what I'm saying. If we're going to be casting the voice actors, right from the animated show as the characters, why didn't we cast Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka? You know what I'm saying? Like, why didn't we kind of do that? But
I can already tell you that answer.
Well, I know that, but the fact they got Mickelson to do Thrawn, I'm very excited about this. And yeah, obviously he's not going to look the same as he did in Star Wars Rebels because Rebels is a stylized show, right? So
yeah,
but for a live action Thrawn, yes, bring it on, and I'm assuming he's going to sound the same as he did in the show. Right. You know what I mean? The same like you said earlier, the same cadence, the same mannerisms, something like that. So I'm so excited for this. I hope this isn't like a thing where they just reveal him in the last episode as the big baddie. Like we didn't know he was going to be the big baddie, or like, we didn't know they were going to find him. I hope they don't do that. I hope they front and center every episode. He's the main villain. I'm hoping that's what they do.
I think so. I don't think you show him. I don't think you reveal and show him if he's only going to be in it a little bit. You know what I mean? I think he's going to be in it prominently. I didn't interrupt. Sorry. Go ahead.
And with this and what we saw with like the Shadow Council and Mando, and they're dropping Thrawn's name there, and then Al Thrawn's in this. They're building to a really awesome.
They are.
Filoni movie. Like whenever we get this culmination film that they're talking about Filoni doing, it's gonna bring on Heir to the Empire, man. I've never been this excited for a Star Wars movie in my life, and then I saw this, and now I'm having heart palpitations just thinking about it.
Well, I do hope that. I mean, listen, I think Filoni will nail it, but let's hope he does, because if he does, then he's going to be doing well. Tyler, what's your take on this, Mr. Thrawn here?
I really hope that he is front and center from the very beginning. I'm trying to remember, was Giancarlo Esposito, was Moff Gideon in the first Mandalorian like trailers? Was he in it at all? The trailers?
Yes, he was.
Because similar, I just really hope they don't do what they did with Mando, where you don't even really see him at all till the very end.
Episode, yeah.
I think he'll be out front and center from the beginning. But I am a little concerned that I think before this show airs, and personally I don't need it, but I think the general audience does, there needs to be some sort of teaser where we actually hear Thrawn's voice and hear a little bit kind of even if it's just a one-liner about his evil plan, just something to get people interested, because I know some people that like Star Wars but haven't, read a Thrawn book or watched Rebels, and they are like, I don't care who's this blue guy. Like, I've never seen this guy before, but I'm supposed to be, freaking out like you are about who this villain is. And so I really hope they do a good job of making people care about this guy is that dude, and we should freak out about it. He looks great. He's going to be great. I can't wait till the first time he walks onto the bridge of his command ship and just starts talking, and his, just really slide, in control base. But I also hope we see him lose control a little bit like he does on occasion, because
he did in Rebels.
He didn't do it that much though. He didn't do it that much.
Every once in a while.
Not much.
Just
it was always held back.
Yeah.
Like the
you could tell he was like, and so
yeah, like the episode when he's on Ryloth. When the guy's disrespecting the culture of the Twi'leks, and he kind of goes off on him.
He comes face to face with the Bendu, and that was a great moment. But like Tyler was talking about, excited about the blue guy. I'm excited about seeing him for the first time in live action. But what I'm most excited for is what it means for the future. That's what I'm so stoked for, because I just if Filoni can pull off this character, right, and if he's got any lick of brains in his head at all, he's on the phone with Timothy Zahn every day, like talking about and so you almost have to.
We're good.
And if we're moving to a movie where he's going to be the main villain in Heir to the Empire with this Dave Filoni movie, if that's what we're moving towards, you need to have Timothy Zahn there. He understands that character.
Well, remember he did bring Timothy Zahn on and analyze the character for Rebels. I think I think, to be fair, I think they've done a fine job without Timothy Zahn, just having his consultations.
They have. But what you've seen so far of Thrawn in Rebels is nothing compared to what is in the novels. Like it's not the same. I mean, there's elements there, but it's not. The novels are
not, at least the original, awesome. the new ones. I'm not really a big fan of. I don't like them. I tried.
Which new ones? All 6 of the new ones?
I read the first 2, and I was like, I'm done. The first one.
How do you the Ascendancy ones?
The one with
Ascendancy ones are really heavy. They're
not those ones. I didn't even bother. I have them.
Like alliances.
Yeah, I have them because I have from my canon shelf that's very unorganized and not really set up yet. But I will never read them because I value my time too much. So, but again,
like I said, P-Thug doesn't like good stuff.
Listen, I read the first novel. I thought it was pretty boring.
You watched the first Ahsoka trailer. Yeah,
I read the second one thinking, oh, we got Thrawn and Anakin's gonna be tight, and I was like, this is very not eventful. Again, Timothy Zahn is a certain writer that does not interest me. He's all about the headspace of the characters for too much, and I'm a visual person. That's why I love comics.
You definitely don't want to read the Ascendancy trilogy then.
Yeah, and I'm not going to. And I like the Thrawn character. I just don't like Timothy Zahn's prose personally.
It's hard to write Thrawn too, because it's hard to write a character who is supposed to know everything going on and predict it at all times, because that can get really boring. You have to really dive into the side characters too, which I like the Ascendancy stuff.
You would,
but that is some advanced Star Wars reading. Like you almost like when you read the Ascendancy trilogy, you almost have to have like a notepad and take notes as you go and work your way through it slowly. I mean, they're like Game of Thrones. Yeah,
I told you I have it.
Homes. Tyler, were you the one that said you had to read them, all 3 of them, in like 12 days?
I read all 3 of those books in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
So I had just I was about to begin reading the first one, and I really wanted to review the third one for the site, and so I claimed it and said, "Yeah, I'll be able to review the third one." Then I was like, "Shoot, I gotta read about 1,200 pages."
You need to send this guy something, because that is holy hand grenades. That must have been. Oh wow,
that's.
I sat on my couch in there for basically just solid every week on the weekends, just plowed through it for. God
Did you actually enjoy them?
Those are heavy too, man. Those are heavy books.
I do enjoy it. So I like the balance, because like in High Republic, I get kind of my fantasy Star Wars, and I'm a big Star Trek guy, and I can literally
dare you get out of here.
I love Star Trek, so I can read a book like Thrawn Ascendancy, which is very Star Trek like.
It is
very technical.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
I can watch an episode of Star Trek where they just talk about like, you know, the ship systems malfunctioning, what that means to whatever.
Yeah,
so it is.
Sure.
I'm a pretty big nerd. What can I say?
Hey,
those ascendancy books are very like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, they are.
I don't. You know. By the way, this is gonna be controversial. I don't like calling it's like nerds. It's like this is a term of like something that they love. You know, like I don't like that because it's like sport. I love sports, right? I love sports. It's like It's like a nerd is like a sports. You can say I'm such a sports nerd, but like people, but they don't call themselves nerds. They go, I just love sports. You know, it's like I just love Star Wars. I love reading. Like, you know what I mean?
My nerd students in school call me a nerd when I talk about basketball too much.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know. No, listen, nerd is an obsessed. I get it. But I just don't like people like. It's like I'm not a nerd. I like what I like. It's just I like just like because there's people who are obsessed with like there's you know people who are obsessed over freaking what's the word I'm thinking for or thing I'm thinking of crafting. You know. I mean, like they don't say I'm a crafting nerd. They say no, I love crafting. It's like I love, you know, I know. I digress.
feel like we've gotten to the point though. I feel like in society where almost being a nerd is almost a badge of honor now because of how much.
Yeah, where was that when I
stuff is
was
out
in
there?
school? That's some bull.
But that's the thing is, I don't even like want to like it's not even about the term nerd anymore. I just hate labels. I hate labels. I just want to be like, you know, besides basic general things like, oh, I love to read. I love to read comics, watch a movie, you know, that kind of crap. Anyway, I digress. This has been a fun show. We're gonna end it here. This is a blast. This is great. So but yeah, we'll just kind of wrap it up here. Tyler, you got to come back again real soon. This was a blast, the three of us.
Anytime.
Where can people find you, man, and they can follow you because you're definitely worth following, in my opinion.
Really, I am only on Twitter, just at TyBread5. It's pretty much all I do. I can't do too much social media; it drives me insane. But I do love my Twitter. So if you like Star Wars books, I review a lot for Star Wars Newsnet. Been taking a bit of a comic and break over the summer. Had a lot of schoolwork to do, but once the fall ramps up and we get some High Republic stuff going, you know, I'll be hitting it hard.
All right. Which, by the way, do you ever follow me on Twitter? Did we follow each other?
I think yes. I think I do. Yeah.
Did I follow you back? If I didn't, just call me.
You know, you may not have. I'll have to look. Dude,
you know, just
may have been shunned. I may have been shunned by you.
Dude, it is not.
I'll look right now.
Just look right now and tell me because I thought I followed you back, but if I didn't, I apologize. I get these stupid spam things. I'm like, you know, so I'm like, so I
guess I fell into the spam category because I didn't get a follow back.
Just tweet at me and say it's me, and I'll be like, okay, all right, it's you. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I feel like a jerk now. I apologize in advance. Anyway, but it's been great, man. We're gonna have you on real quick. Bearded Wonder, it's good to have you back. You seem your energy level's back. You're back. I'm happy about this.
I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm getting ready to kick off my show again, the Star Wars Canon podcast,
cool.
revamping it from the ground up, basically.
Dang, dude.
And so I've had a lot of free time lately, so going to be working on that. And actually, the website that we had, it was 1138productions.com. I'm not going to announce what the new URL is just yet, but yesterday we changed the name of the website. As soon as, because you know, it takes a little bit of time for website URLs to kind of take. So, because right now when I type it in, I just checked it too while Tyler was talking, just to see if it was up yet so I can announce it, but I can't announce it yet. So, hopefully I'll be able to announce it next week what the new website is. I'm very excited about it. Been working on it a lot, getting the timeline broken down into the eras now that Disney put out for us, the High Republic, Old Republic, all of that stuff. The timeline will be broken down by all that now. And so, putting some stuff on the website, taking some stuff off, and just kind of switching it around a little bit. So very excited to announce that whenever I do have something to announce on it. Like I said, the podcast is going to be coming back here before long, and the weekly roundup videos are going to start again this weekend on Newsnet. Yay. So going to be getting back on the mic for those as well. So
good.
Check those out. And then if you guys want to follow me on my Twitter account my Twitter account that has 8 followers, tell you what, you guys,
I was following you. You don't do anything, but I don't
do anything. I don't. I'm not a Twitter person. I'm not even going to try to admit it or not admit it. I'm not a. Hang on, let me look at it here real quick.
Tyler,
I'm sorry, I had 81 followers. I didn't know about.
Wow,
I didn't even know I had 81 followers. So
humble brag,
right? And so, Anyway, yeah, go follow me there. It's I don't even know what it is. I gotta look at SW Canon Podcast. Go follow me there, or you can follow me at my personal one at Brian Miller 1138.
Wow.
Follow the Star Wars one before you follow mine.
Tyler, by the way, I'm looking for you. I can't find. What's your Twitter name?
Is at TyBrad5.
Ty like wait, how you spell it? Ty T.
I'll shoot you a DM. That
Just shoot me a DM. Come on, this is classic
trading
live.
MB Wilson, I just wanted to tell him I think that there is a High Republic conversation in the works that will happen before Phase 3 for sure. I know that myself being I know Brian's a big High Republic fan.
I'm working on getting caught up on it now.
Yeah, then Nate, who's another guy that is a big High Republic fan with Star Wars News Net, wants to, and we're gonna have a deep dive. I've read everything. I can't wait for Phase 3. It's my favorite era in all of Star Wars. Just
wow. That is.
I'm enjoying Phase 2 so far. I'm really enjoying it.
There's Nate.
So
I really wish. Oh, okay. Hi, Nate. Hi, buddy. Now
that Nate's here, let's get out of here.
For the record, I just want to say, like, I'm trying to like. There's parts of the High Republic I like. We've talked about this before, Tyler. So anyway, that's a whole different thing. So, really quick before I get out of here, you can go ahead and follow, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Comic Binge, where we talk about comic books and we're promoting the comic book medium as much as possible. Last week we had a big fun show about horror comics and comic book recommendations that are just, if you're not into superheroes, we gave it, we went over a cool comic called Specs with my friend Cookie. That was her recommendation. That was a lot of fun. Next week, we're going to be doing a big a book interview with my buddy Alex, who just put out a book called Understanding Superhero Comics. It's a phenomenal book. Listen, I'm not, he's my homie, but like, I'm being real. This book is, if you like comic books, you want to like the history, holy crap, this dude is, he's a comic book historian. That's what he does. But like, it's legitimately like one of the best books I've read about comics, whatever. Go check it out. We're going to interview him next week. A lot of fun. And then next month, we're going to be doing film reviews for Ninja Turtles and Blue Beetle, because they're all comic book related. And just, gotta do what you gotta do. But anyway, go subscribe there. Really appreciate it. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and get it to a 5,000 hours watch, which is, it's not easy. So I appreciate any help out there. But anyway, it's been a blast, guys. We're gonna head out. Bearded Wonder, why don't you send us off, my friend?
As always, may the force be with you guys.